He never knew her name, never heard her voice, never even sat close enough to feel the warmth of her coat brushing his sleeve. But the day she didn't show up, Eli felt her absence like grief. Have you ever missed someone you barely knew? If yes, drop a heart in the comments. The end of this video will show you the beauty of true humanity bonds. So hit that like button and keep watching. Every morning, Eli walked the same path through Maplewood Park. It was a routine he clung to because routines don't disappear the way people do. And every morning, on the far end of a weathered bench by the pond, sat an elderly woman wrapped in a deep blue shawl. She was always early, always quiet, always looking at the water, as if she could read something in its stillness. Eli didn't know when it began, the silent companionship between them, a customary nod, and then shared stillness. Two strangers breathing in the same moment of peace before the world woke up. They never spoke, but somehow she saw him. Not the him who wore the same gray coat every day, or the him who tried to look less alone than he felt. No, she saw the him who was tired of trying and struggling. And in a life where people hurried past him, eyes down, earbuds in, being quietly seen was a kind of salvation. So it was a shock to him when one morning she wasn't there. The bench sat empty. The pond rippled without a reflection. And for the first time in months, the morning felt wrong. At first, Eli thought she might be running late, even though she had never been late. So he waited. 5 minutes turned to 10, then 20. He sat on his half of the bench anyway, staring at the blue-gray water she used to watch, feeling foolish, feeling worried, feeling something he couldn't explain. She probably couldn't make it today, he whispered to himself. But the next day, still no one. The next, nothing. And on the fourth morning, Eli felt it. A sinking, aching heaviness. The kind that feels like losing something you never officially had. He tried to shake it off, but the silence clung to him. For the first time, he wondered where she came from, which street she walked, whose window she passed, who waited for her if anyone did. He began asking around quietly. The hot dog vendor, the morning joggers, the older couple who fed ducks nearby. A few remembered seeing her. No one knew her name. She always sat in that same spot, one woman said. Always looked like she was remembering someone. The words hit him deeper than he expected, remembering someone, until one caretaker sweeping leaves paused and said, "You looking for the lady with the blue shawl? I think I saw an ambulance with her last week that took her to the Mapleview Care Home on Pine Street." Eli's heart stilled. He hadn't known her name, but somehow the thought of her being taken alone felt unbearable. That evening, he stood outside the care home's doors, palms sweating, unsure what he would even say. How do you ask for someone you only know through silence? He entered and just stared at the reception wall. A nurse greeted him, gentle and knowing. "Hi, you're here from Margaret, right?" He exhaled. So she had a name. She talked about the park sometimes. The nurse said softly, "Says there's a young man who sits beside her every morning, and that she hopes he's okay." Eli felt something warm break open in his chest. You noticed me?" he whispered. The nurse smiled. She said, "You look lonely, the same way she sometimes feels." Eli swallowed hard. He had spent months thinking she made him feel seen. He never realized he had done the same for her. He stepped into her room. Margaret sat by the window, wrapped in that familiar shawl, sunlight catching the silver strands of her hair. She turned at the sound of the door, and her eyes softened. "You!" she whispered, the edges of a smile forming. "You came." Eli sat in the chair beside her, the same way he sat beside her on the bench, side by side, quiet and peaceful. Words felt unnecessary. Their silence had always been conversation. After a long moment, Margaret said, "I thought I had lost my peaceful mornings." "You didn't," Eli replied gently. "I'm here." She reached out with a trembling hand, and Eli took it, a simple gesture, a small connection. But for both of them, it felt like coming home. From that day on, Eli visited weekly. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they just sat together, watching the light fade through the window. And slowly, Eli realized the truth. He didn't go there because she needed him. He went because she had given him something he didn't know he still had, a place to belong, a quiet place. And that's the beauty of life. Some connections begin long before the first hello. Some bonds don't need names, labels, or history. Sometimes two lonely hearts sit on the same bench long enough to recognize each other. And that recognition is enough to change everything. If you believe strangers can save us in small, quiet ways, you are not alone. Share this with someone who might need that gentle reminder. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell for more True Humanity Chronicles. Stories that remind us what it means to be human.